Welcome to Cattle Connect, your insight into Alabama's beef cattle industry. I'm your host, Kayla Greer, and this is Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Welcome back to another episode of the Cattle Connect podcast. And in case you haven't heard, the 82nd Annual ACA Convention and Trade Show will be coming to town very, very soon. February 21st and 22nd will be in downtown Birmingham at the BJCC for the largest cattle industry event in the state of Alabama. Our convention, it hosts a massive trade show, lots of awesome beef meals, tons of networking opportunities, there's junior cattlemen events, and of course, there's educational sessions. And that is what we really want to talk to you about on today's show, because we are very excited about some of the educational workshops that we've got coming to this year's event. Joining me today to talk about these opportunities is ACA Executive Vice President and Convention Planner Extraordinaire, Erin Beasley. Erin, how's it going?
Well, thanks for the title change, Kayla. That's cute.
You've been doing this for a while now. You got it down.
That's cute. I'll take it. I'm doing pretty good. With the exception of this weather, I am, as you know, I am not a fan of
Not a
old.
cold girl.
I don't do cold. Grew up in Florida. It's amazing I ended up as far north as Alabama. But here we are. I think some of the state is seeing some of that white stuff that I hate to see. So I'm not, other than that, I'm okay. But that part's not good.
Yeah. We're filming this a little early, so we don't know if the snow is actually going to hit the ground and stick there. But for those of you in North Alabama who were predicted to get snow, if you are, we hope that you guys are staying warm and that your farm chores aren't too miserable this morning. But we are going to dive right in. But before we get into what we're going to talk about today, we've got 5 educational opportunities on this year's agenda, Erin. But before we get too much into what they are, I wanted to hear a little bit of the inspiration behind the topics and you, the convention planner extraordinaire, how you kind of came up with these ideas for this content.
Well, Kayla, first of all, it's certainly not just, definitely not just a one-man show here putting these together. It really stems back to, each year we try to think about, what are some things, obviously, that people would be interested in. That's always important. I like to talk to our leadership to see, what their input is. For example, one of the speakers we'll see during the weekend is Colin Woodall. We'll talk about him later. But, Terry really wanted Colin to be involved again this year. So a lot of feedback to get those. But particularly this year, one thing that people notice is we've traditionally done our general sessions with, kind of that highlight featured speaker. And what you'll see this year is that we've moved towards panel discussions. And so directly that is feedback from the regional meetings we had last summer. And, producers were participating in those listening sessions that we did. We brought up a lot of questions during the regional meetings for feedback, and it was related to a lot of different things. It was talking about government programs. It was, getting feedback from them on, what are some things that are working for you? What are programs that you use the most on the farm?
What are some of your areas of need?
Yeah, what are your areas of need? And what we found is that while we had a lot of good feedback, we also saw that, we had a lot of producers that, they came up afterward and they said, what you were talking about, I've heard of it, but I can't really say I know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And so after you hear that, 3 or 4 times, you start to kind of think about it and say, well, we probably need to do a little better job educating. And so the convention is a fantastic way to do that. And so that's really kind of the inspiration behind a lot of the speakers that we have this year on the convention agenda.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, this is a direct result of stuff that we've heard from the field, whether it was touched on at a meeting or when somebody said, I'd like to know more about that, or it's a topic that we just keep hearing about and maybe we don't know much about it, and so we can't educate others on it, and so we need some education on it ourselves. And so those topics are coming to life at convention. And Erin, I'm just going to start from the top. Friday's lunch hour is welcoming quite the overhaul in terms of what it looks like on the agenda. So tell us about that.
Yeah, Friday is going to look pretty different from what we've traditionally done. One thing we always do as a staff is, we take a look at the agenda and we say, where can we freshen things up? And so I'd say that Friday is a result of that. And so for the lunch hour, we will have box lunches for people that are at the convention. just to kind of remind everybody, we are opening the trade show at 10 this year, which is 2 hours earlier than we've done it before.
Yeah, and we talked about that in one of our previous podcasts that aired in December, where we talked about all the things that are new at the 2025 Convention and Trade Show. So one of those things is that now on Friday, the trade show will open at 10. While the board of directors meeting is getting kicked off downstairs, the trade show will open instead of after the lunch hour, which is traditionally what we've done.
Yeah, so a lot of people we know will be mingling around the trade show. And one thing that you'll be able to do is go to the back of the trade show. We'll have our stage set up and our demonstration area. And we're going to have, thanks to our friends from Zoetis Animal Health, we're going to be providing a hands-on BQA lunch and learn. And so whether you have never been BQA certified, which is, for a reminder, beef quality assurance, or for those that need to get recertified, just a reminder there, every 3 years we need to get recertified. So, we've got a lot of those that maybe are due up for that, but this will be program that's presented by Dr. Soren Rodning. He is, of course, the BQA state coordinator for Alabama. And again, thanks to our friends at Zoetis, we'll be shoot side with some cattle, and that will be done in the working facilities provided by Deep South Livestock Equipment. And so just, again, thankful for those partnerships to be able to bring that. We even got the BJCC to agree to let some live cattle come in, Kayla.
That's right.
Yeah, they're excited about that.
Maybe a little hesitant, but
maybe a little bit.
We've told them to trust us. If there's anybody that can handle live cattle in an event venue, it's the Cattlemen's Association, right?
Yeah. I feel confident in it. And according to Reed, we've got some dead broke old show heifers coming, so I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
No ranchy steers coming in, so that should be a lot of fun. And again, hands on, folks can get up there, shoot side, see what's going on, get that certification, and it's just something new and fresh for this year's agenda.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the opportunity for people to have the box lunch option there on Friday, because traditionally it was a board luncheon, and it just kind of streamlines the whole event to encourage people to get there earlier and get more out of their Friday package. So excited about that. And then so after that event, the trade show will be open, things will be kicking off, and we'll be moving. So there's a little block of time there. And the last thing that we're going to do to round out Friday's educational opportunities, and before folks can head to the Alabama Farm Credit Happy Hour and the Buckles and Bid Banquet that night for food, music, fun, all the good things, we've got to host a general session, and it's a panel. So, Aaron, what are we going to be talking about at that panel discussion, General Session 1, and who's going to be doing the talking?
Yep. So we'll start with General Session 1. Again, this is a direct result of that feedback we got from the regional meetings. But our good friend, Ken Kelly.
Oh, yeah. We love Ken.
We love Ken. He does so many different things with us. But this year, he's going to moderate our first panel here for General Session 1. The title of this is Planning for the Future of the Farm. Okay, so we've got a few different participants that will be on the panel, and this stems from a lot of questions that we've gotten about estate planning.
Mm-hmm.
And
big topic.
Yeah, it's a topic that, we know that we need to be doing estate planning.
Right.
We know that it's top of mind. We also know that a lot of people just, they may not be sure how to dip their toe in that water.
Yeah, it's a scary conversation to have. It's the conversation that nobody wants to have.
Right.
It's and it's just a big bite to chew. There's so many facets of estate planning that have to be considered. You've got financial planning. You've got all these different things that have to go into a complete estate plan. And I think this panel is really going to handle that topic. Yeah,
we've got some great professionals on this. And so obviously if you're estate planning, you need a lawyer. And so we've got John DeShazo, who is from Webster Henry Law Firm. They do a lot of agriculture work. John himself, he and his wife have cattle there in Jefferson County. So we have him that'll serve as kind of that legal piece of the panel.
Right.
You also need a financial advisor.
Right.
That's important. And so I've had an opportunity to get to know Megan Spain. She is with Lincoln Financial Group, and I've gotten to know her through my relationships with Agribusiness Council. And so Megan has agreed. She's out of Birmingham as well. So she's going to come and works a lot with farmers and ag groups, particularly in this area. So I think she'll be a good voice there.
Right.
Thirdly, we have a cattleman that'll be involved. And so this is actually Casey Atkinson. I had a chance to get to know her recently. She is from Wyoming. So we've got kind of an outsider coming in, but she has a very unique story. She has been through this through probably what I would call the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lost her brother and was kind of, forced to kind of go back, and be involved in that family farm. She wanted to, but it was probably not on her timing.
Right.
And so Casey brings a really interesting perspective and does a lot of talks around the importance of estate planning and having been through it herself.
Yeah, just a big advocate.
Absolutely. And then fourth from Extension, Kelly Russell. So Dr. Russell, she's a great resource there in the rural sociology department at Auburn, but she does all Extension work. And she is really doing a lot with her portfolio and Extension around this topic. And so I think she'll have a lot of perspective as well, and somebody that people can call on afterward, in addition to like Ken Kelly with the expertise he brings from the farm and agribusiness team.
Right.
So Ken, of course, will be a great moderator, just with his personality like it is. But I'm really looking forward to this discussion. I think it'll be covering a lot of different facets of estate planning. So whether you're a person that is thinking about it, you're in the middle of it, or maybe you're ready to sign that dotted line, I think you'll probably just get some good things to, think through, maybe apply to what your situation is, or maybe just have in your back pocket in case the day ever comes that you need to make some adjustments.
Or maybe you're sitting there going, I need to do this, but gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Well, these folks are professionals out in the field. Of course, they're our featured panelists, but they can help you in the real life scenario as well. So maybe they're just the resource that you've been looking for.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Kayla, one of our survey questions during those regional meetings, we asked, do you have an estate plan? And I was just shocked. I think we had like 40-something% of our respondents that said, I do not.
Yeah.
And so we know it's important. We're working on the policy side to make sure that the death tax. We talk about that a lot. It's up for grabs right now in this Trump tax policy that's sunsetting in D.C. as we enter into this year. And so there's a lot around that topic. We want folks to feel like they're prepared and ready to do what they need to do to think about the future of their farm.
Right. Okay, so that's panel number 1. And looking real forward to that and hearing that content. Again, just a wildly important topic. Whether it's one we like or not, it's very important. But that's one out of 2 panels. We're going to have another one, and it'll be that following morning, Saturday morning at 9 a.m., and it's going to be for General Session 2. And I think that this one is going to bring to light some really tangible and helpful information for producers just to kind of sit and chew on. So, Aaron, tell us about that one.
Yeah, thanks to our friends from Corteva, always great supporters of the association. They are sponsoring General Session 2. And again, we're back on panels, but we will have Kent Stanford as the moderator.
Another good one.
Another great one. We love Kent. He is going to be prepared to work with the panelists and have a discussion about diversifying your financials on the farm.
Okay.
So again, this came off regional meetings, just feedback that we got. And, one thing that we know is that, we've in the way that the ag economy is and the way that we know that inputs are going up, we know that, what we get for cattle, it's constantly on this roller coaster. But one thing that we can do is maybe look at ways that we can diversify what those inputs and outputs are and hopefully affect our bottom line on the farm. And so we've got, just some topics for people to think about. We are in no way saying, hey, these are things that are going to guarantee you profit.
Or anything. Yeah.
No fix it all. But we do want people to be aware that these things are out there and these topics are out there for them to maybe think about as they're looking at their farm. And so we've got our good friend Del Fike from Agoro Carbon Alliance. So Del is going to, one of those topics that I probably get a lot of questions on that I don't feel even remotely just qualified to speak on is just around the carbon credit conversation. Whether you're for or against it, it is out there. And as cattle producers that are using, grass, converting it to protein by grazing cattle on it and sequestering carbon every single day in our state, carbon credits are something that are going to continue to get talked about. And Del is a great person to speak to us about, what are carbon credit programs and what are some of the options out there that if producers even want to have that conversation, they can look at.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite literally an option that is in your backyard, being that to be a cattle producer, you first have to be a grass farmer.
Yeah, you're a grass farmer. So, but Del's become a great friend and supporter of the association. And so I'm looking forward to his comments on that. Second, we're going to have no stranger to us, Kayla, Randa Starnes.
Yeah, Randa.
Yeah, from Tennessee River Music. So Randa is really, obviously, in addition to their seed stock operation, Randa and John have really ventured into direct-to-consumer marketing. And we know that that's growing in the state. We know by the number of calls we get from consumers that want to find producers. In addition...
This is producers that are selling local beef.
Yeah, local beef.
Direct-to-consumer local beef sales, just to elaborate a little bit.
Direct to consumer marketing of your beef. So you're raising beef, you're producing beef, and you're selling beef to consumers directly. And so Randa, they've done a great job up there. They even have a storefront that is where people can come and buy beef now. So she's going to speak to some of the maybe challenges and successes that they've had. They were doing that before kind of the COVID big push on the direct to consumer. So they've kind of been through a lot of facets of that. So looking forward to what kind of insight she can bring to that. Third, we have our good friend Jerry Etheridge. We all know Jerry from numerous ways that he's interacted in the industry, but Jerry is going to talk to us. He's been involved in custom and contract grazing of cattle his entire career.
Right.
And so I think most of us probably know him from, Linden and Montgomery Stockyards and now Elite Marketing Services. But, Jerry is one that has grazed cattle for years and years.
Right.
And so we want to have a good discussion about, maybe that is something that a producer wants to look at, instead of selling calves, when they're 600 pounds, what can I maybe do to graze them on and get them up to maybe, ready to go to the feed yard. So we've got Jerry talking on that. And then Kent, who obviously is also our moderator, Kent does an excellent presentation and does a lot of talk with producers about heifer development.
Yes. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pitch the podcast again. Kent joined Reed McGuire on our staff here in studio. I think it was August of last year in season 1. And it was an episode where he gave that heifer development spiel. So if that interests you, if your ears are perking up, go back and listen to that episode of the podcast.
Yeah, Kent does a good job. We know that we've got a lot of producers in the state, a lot of purebred operations. Maybe they are selling heifers, and they've got a lot more potential, both genetically and in development. And so maybe a producer is ready to kind of think about, maybe I'll do that on my farm and then sell them as ready to breed open heifers or even bred heifers.
Or bred heifers, yeah.
Right. So Kent will have some great insight on that. So, that rounds out that. We could probably keep going on that panel, but we've only got an hour to work with. So.
And those aren't just the only opportunities. I think that's what you were alluding to just with that comment, Aaron. Those aren't the only opportunities out there, but these are 4 that we feel like could be explored a little bit more. Maybe they haven't been as talked about as much as some of the other ones. And these are ones that specifically came up as feedback of, hey, I'd like to learn more about that in these previous meetings that we've had. And so here they are coming to you 9 a.m. Saturday morning of the convention, General Session 2. And then the first one, the estate planning panel is going to be, that's General Session 1. It's going to be Friday of the convention at 4 p.m.
The age-old question, what's for dinner? Maybe it's ground beef tacos or sirloin steak kebabs. What about beef chili, meatloaf, or sloppy joes? With hundreds of recipes on beef, it's what'sfordinner.com. The next time that question comes up, you'll know the answer. Beef. It's What's for Dinner. Funded by beef farmers and ranchers.
So, Aaron, that's 3 of the 5 opportunities if you consider the 2 general sessions and the BQA training or the BQA certification opportunity. So that's 3 out of 5. The last 2 are our cattlemen's colleges, both of which will be held on Saturday, the first one at 10:30 a.m., and then the other one right after the lunch back in the trade show at 1:30 p.m. So what are those going to be about?
Yeah, a fan favorite every year at the convention is definitely the cattlemen's colleges. So we do have 2 that day, as you said, Kayla. First one in the morning is going to be brought to us by our friends at Alpha Health, and we're going to be focusing in on farm safety. Again, a topic that probably doesn't get talked about enough.
Right.
But we've got Jackson Chance, who is actually Josie from the crew here. That's one of her brothers.
Yep.
And Jackson has a unique career in that he lives in a rural area. He is certified EMA, and so he's paramedic, firefighter.
He's a registered nurse.
He's
all the things.
Yeah.
If you ever find yourself in an emergency situation, you want Jackson Chance nearby.
I do. I would like Jackson to be nearby because I feel like he could save my life. But he is going to be providing us with some great input as to just some simple things we can do on the farm that could potentially save your life in an emergency situation.
Yeah, in the event of an accident or something like that. He's going to offer some tips of things that you can do beforehand in terms of education, or maybe a kit that you can have on hand that will be handy in the event of emergency. And then he's going to offer some things that you need to know when that emergency happens or that event happens. What are some things that you can do to slow down the progress of that injury or that accident while emergency medical services get to you? Being that a lot of us live in rural areas, it takes them a little longer. And so we need some of those life-saving protocols enacted before EMS can get there. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pitch the podcast again. Jackson joined Josie in studio during Farm Safety Week, during season 1 of the Cattle Connect podcast, and talked about some of these things. I'm going to venture to say that this Cattlemen's College is going to be an elaboration of that podcast. So he's going to talk a little bit more in depth on some of those things and some of those certifications that he encouraged you to get, and some of those kits he said to have on hand on the farm and all your tractors. And just really looking forward to having that. This is a topic, again, kind of like estate planning, that nobody wants to talk about, but it is a very real reality for all of us. We've all heard the horror stories, and we want to bring that information to you so that in the event that you ever need it, you are prepared.
Yeah, really practical information there from Jackson. So definitely want people to check that out. The second Cattlemen's College that day will be from our friends at Agrarian, and Dr. Larry Roth will be joining us. And, his talk, Kayla, is centered all around the importance of calf health from day one.
Yeah.
Moving forward. And so they will be talking a lot about the digestive system, the rumen, things that maybe we're not always thinking about when that calf hits the ground.
Right.
But things that can really make a difference in that first day, week, month, I believe, is part of their discussion. And so really thank them for coming on board with our Cattlemen's College. So, two really different topics, but some great practical education to take back to the farm.
I would say that all of these topics are extremely various in content, and so that just really creates a cool agenda for our attendees. They're from estate planning to calf health to farm emergencies and life-saving tips. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's pretty good.
Day 1, week 1, month 1. Whatever happens day 1, week 1, or month 1 of a calf's life determines if it remains alive, the profitability of the animal, or if it will reach its genetic potential in the feedlot or as a herd replacement. Come listen to Dr. Larry Roth speak on calf health Saturday at 1:30 p.m. at the Alabama Cattlemen's Convention. What are you doing to secure your calf's health on day 1, week 1, month 1?
Aaron, I know that this is more of a featured speaker kind of setup, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about our Cattlemen's Luncheon, where folks are still also going to hear a great update and hopefully take home some good little nuggets from NCBA CEO Colin Woodall. So what do you think he's going to bring to light during his discussion?
It's a good year to have Colin.
It's a great year.
And Colin is always a great, he's definitely in the educational speaker category. So First South Farm Credit, they will once again be sponsoring that Cattlemen's Luncheon. And Kayla, real quick, before I mention what Colin might hit on, important to note for our convention attendees, all of the events that we've talked about so far are just part of your, day pass to the convention.
That's right. They're all free.
They are. Well,
included with the package,
with the registration. But if you want to hear Colin, it is going to be at the Cattlemen's Luncheon, which is a ticketed meal event.
That's right.
I don't want people to think they're going to hear Colin and then not have a ticket to that.
Yeah,
lunch.
So if you get a do-it-all package, that's included. You will get to go hear Colin. You'll get a ticket to that meal. But if you just purchase a day pass, you will also need to purchase a Cattlemen's Luncheon meal ticket with your registration additionally if you are interested in hearing Colin.
And that's on Saturday.
Right.
So, but Colin, what a great year to have him for the simple fact we are right in the thick during the convention of the Trump transition. So I predict that we will hear a lot about that. NCBA is also coming off of their annual meeting the first week in February. Mm-hmm. Out of that will be the top policy priorities for the organization in D.C. moving forward. So I suspect Colin will hit a good bit on that. And he also always does a great update from the checkoff side as well. And so Colin is a breadth of information. He is one of the sharpest guys that I know and I have the privilege to know. And just one that always brings an excellent talk and, just a great advocate for the industry. And I'm personally really looking forward to hearing some of the dynamics maybe of this Trump transition and some of the things, with confirmations we have coming up and other things that we can expect in D.C. maybe in this first, call it 6 months.
Right. Yeah. And just as a reminder for those who might not remember, several years ago, before taking over the CEO position with NCBA, Colin actually served in D.C. in the NCBA office as the governmental affairs director. And so he has just all of that insider DC knowledge and really looking forward to his talk. And he just takes really hard topics and is able to explain them in such a tangible, easy to digest way. And so looking forward to hearing his information on what he's hearing from his friends in DC and across the countryside. All right, so there you have it. All of this and so much more will be happening at the ACA Convention and Trade Show in Birmingham, February 21st and 22nd next month. I think today we are 42 days away from the kickoff of convention. And really, I mean it when I say that there is so much more. There's so much more fun and networking. There's shopping. There's Junior Cattleman Contest. We have our Alabama Beef Pack auction. Just the list goes on and on and on. Don't miss it. Join us. And to do so, I want you to hop online to bamabeef.org/events. You're going to click the ACA Convention and Trade Show event, and that will bounce you out to our convention website where you can learn all you need to know. You can view the schedule, read about the sessions, and get registered today. And by today, I mean today or at least within the week, because early bird prices will expire soon. 1 week today, January 17th. The countdown is on to that early bird deadline expiration. So get the best deal on your package. Call the Sheraton or click out the link on our convention website and book your hotel room. There's just, it's getting here quick, 42 days until convention. And so encourage you guys, if any of this sounds interesting to you, to hop on and get registered. But that's all we have for this week's episode. I hope you guys that are experiencing that white stuff, as Aaron called it, I hope that you guys stay warm. I hope your herds' bellies stay full. Thank you for your work. I know it is not glorious today, but thank you for what you're doing. And we will see you all back next week for more Cattle Connect podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when our next episode goes live. And until next time, remember, beef, it's what's for dinner.